I think anyone who cares about football and also cares about minority rights is probably talking about this Enzo Fernandez issue now. Now, there's been a lot of things which has happened and which is still ongoing, and it has a lot of moving parts, which makes it very hard to understand. But I just wanted to focus on a few things and a few misconceptions, which I think we can use this opportunity to clear up. Let's begin the first with a scenario. If you hit me on the leg and I scream in pain, but maybe you didn't intend to hit me, or the extent to which you felt you hit me wasn't too hard, or you didn't feel like you hit me too hard, then you will probably feel annoyed if you hear me screaming, wailing, rolling down the floor, holding up my leg. You're going to think, what's this guy doing? What's all this drama, right? So to truly understand people's reactions, you need to first of all understand the context, and this is it. Because me rolling and wailing on the floor could not just be as a result of what you directly did to me, but then it could be that I, or the person in question here, was carrying a previous injury or a previous pain, and you ended up hitting it. So yes, it's true, you didn't mean to do it. Yes, it's true, it was done in a fun way, like you probably didn't have the intention of hurting the person, but it doesn't mean it didn't hurt. And that's the first point I want to make. A lot of people are casting aspersions and saying that, well, this is not an issue, like this is not supposed to be a big issue, and we've blown it out of proportion, hating on Enzo, hating on Chelsea and whatnot. I think you first of all need to understand where these French players who are protesting are coming from, because racism is a very delicate issue in France. And even quite recently within their elections, and you heard Mbappe talk about it, there was the risk that the far right, which has systematically been against the immigrant population, was likely going to come into power. And the main thing to note here is that the rhetoric that these individuals use to exclude black immigrants and descendants of black immigrants is that they are not white and therefore they are not French. So there's always the rhetoric of go back to your country, you are not from here, which is used to dismiss their entitlements to their nationality. And mind you, this is not just in rhetoric alone. Like, there's real evidence where violence has been exerted upon some of this immigrants population. So for some of these players, their grandfathers, their parents, generations, scores of them have been hurt by this exact rhetoric. So if you hear these words being used against you, you are going to feel it. You are going to be offended, and there is strong justification for why that reaction then would be immense. But listen, but then again, there's a second part of this. There are some people who now say, and to caveat it, they say this in response, or they say this to reduce the effect of what people are literally saying. So they say that first of all, it is true that these people are of African descent, so why should it be annoying, or why should it be racist? And secondly, they are, like, Africans say it all the time, we've said it all the time, and it's something that we know to be true, so why should you get offended about it? Well, it is true. I think first of all, it is true that for a lot of these players, they do have dual nationalities, or they do have parents who come from different places. But first of all, that is not true for all of them. Let's establish it. For most of these players, they were born in France, which makes them French. But also the fact that it is specifically targeting players who are black. So players like Griezmann, who obviously have a very different heritage. Even someone like Zidane, who is a legend of the France national team, has an African heritage, but this almost never gets called out. So it is not widely true in general for all of these people that this is their situation. So which speaks to the level of generalization that comes with bigotry. But secondly, it is where it's coming from. It is where it's coming from. Because you see, when we as Africans speak about the black heritage of French nationals, or of these French players, we do it in a way to celebrate blackness. We do it in a way that is complementary to want to include them into our blackness. So, and of which, of course, they are. But realize that when bigots do this, it comes with a different intention. The intention then is to exclude them from their French identity on the basis of their color. And this statement was not made by outlining facts. Recognize that it was sung in a session, in a celebratory mood, in a way to jest the French national team, which means it was sung in a derogatory manner to hurt these players. You can't ignore this context and say, well, it's a fact, so why are we complaining about it? And all people have said it. That on top of the fact that this country and the players who are from there, from this specific country, which is Argentina, it has a strong history of racial discrimination. So you can't ignore all of this context and say that it is okay. Now, I take issue with a lot of things which are going on, specifically how Chelsea fan pages, certain Chelsea fans have reacted to this to make it look like it's an attack on the player and to try and guard the entire public. And for me, it is disgusting, because what it has made me understand is that people care more about than human issues. And when these issues come up and you speak about it, people want to spin the narrative and make it look like it is a distraction to the football which they have.